I'm Jake Horrifying, and this is Dude Horrifying. Today we're talking HBO's new television series, The Last of Us, based off the very popular PlayStation video game created by Naughty Dog. Today I got with me special co-host Matthew Slane. Y'all know him, he's been on the channel before, and we're going to talk about the first two episodes of The Last of Us and how they compare to the game and how we feel about it. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great because for the first time, seemingly ever, a video game adaptation to like a show or movie isn't terrible. It's actually really good, and I'm happy.
So I completely agree. However, I will be probably the first to say that I don't think this is the first good live adaptation. Uh,
I
no. But a lot of people are saying it is. I do think, and I might get hate for this. I don't care. Uncharted, very faithful to its source material.
Mm.
I mean, I will say that Mark Wahlberg is a strange Sully, especially when you have someone like Bruce Campbell out there that could really play the role well. But I thought that was a very good game, or God damn it, movie. I thought that was a very good movie. And I also thought Sonic the Hedgehog, the first Sonic the Hedgehog, was a very good movie. Yeah, I thought Sonic was really good. I thought Sonic really matched the game. I thought it had a lot of characters that felt genuine to what the game. Same with Uncharted, but The Last of Us is on a different level.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is on a absolutely, and this is why, right? Uncharted follows its source material, but it's not a specific game. It's doing its own thing, which it should, because it's kind of hard to recreate that experience with someone that's not Nolan North. Sonic is doing its own thing, taking things from the games, but it's not following the game. This is not necessarily shot for shot following the game, but it is so damn close to the real thing that it blows my mind. There are points watching this show where I am getting confused because they are saying lines directly from the game, and the scenes just look so similar that I'm getting confused between the show and the game. I'm seeing the world as the game, even though it's live action.
Some of the cinematography from the show is just like 1-to-1 exactly the same as the cinematography and the cutscenes of some of the cutscenes in the game.
Oh yeah, and I think it really
It's
does
like-
a service. It
Yeah.
does a great service how the games were. But before we go any further, I do want to say, spoiler alert for the first two episodes of The Last of Us. So if you have not seen those, go check those out before coming back and listening to this. Showing people that haven't played the game what the game's about is so much fun. I mean, we have a buddy named Izzy who never played the game, doesn't have a PlayStation. He's watching the show right now, and getting to hear his side of it is awesome.
It's fulfilling almost.
Yes, it's like, oh, you felt that heartbreak in episode 1? Oh yeah, we've been there.
And then
Oh,
every 9 seconds, I'm like, that was from the game.
that was
That was
the
from the
game.
game. Oh my god, that's right after the game.
He's like, hey man, are you gonna be doing this the entire time?
He's like, yes.
sorry. I'll go
Sorry.
back at. Oh my god, that was
That was from the game. That line was directly from it.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if you couldn't tell, Matthew and I have both played the game. We both love the game. The game means a lot to us. We love anything Naughty Dog does, but I mean, The Last of Us. Our opinions on the second one are, I personally liked it. Matthew, did you like it? Yeah,
Yes
that's
and no. It did a lot of things better than the first game, but the story-wise, I just feel like it was a disservice. But that's a whole another thing.
yeah, that's a whole nother thing for a different day. We actually probably will do an episode on that, like, in the future, so stay tuned. But we don't know when that'll ever happen, because The Last of Us Part 2 definitely unpacks a can of worms that some people like, some people
Very
don't.
divisive.
Very divisive. They made a move that the move doesn't necessarily work for me. I still like the game, doesn't work for me, but I respect them for at least attempting it. Anyways, the first game masterpiece. 2013 is when it released on the PlayStation 3, 2 whole generations ago, and it's been remastered, it's been remade, it's now a television show. It sells merchandise like crazy. Hell, I'm wearing a t-shirt. I got the second game behind me. It is taken over popular culture for the better, and HBO saw this, and they decided they wanted to work with Neil Druckmann, the creator of The Last of Us, and create this television show. And it debuted 2 weeks ago, and we're going to dive into this. We're going to talk about the show, how it compares to the game, and what we expected coming into it, and how it's fulfilled those expectations going through it. So, Matthew, how are you feeling about the show so far, though?
I am loving it. That's it. I'm just loving it.
I do want to talk about the cast real quick going into it, because there was a lot of pushback from the gaming community about the casting of Bella Ramsey as Ellie.
Today ends in Y. They were pissed off about something.
So this is all I gotta say is, if you're mad about the casting of Ellie, you're not a Last of Us fan, because that is the most spot on portrayal of the character I could have ever envisioned.
It blew my mind because they're like, oh, she doesn't look exactly like Ellie or whatever. And it's just, I don't know. I only cared about the acting ability and how she could bring the character to on my television screen.
Yeah.
You know? And then people were also like, oh, I don't know why they took it this way, but it's like, oh, she got a lot of pushback because she's not attractive enough or not pretty enough. It was like, well, one, why do you care? Two, Ellie is supposed to be a 14-year-old girl. I know
She's
Bella
14.
Ramsey's like, yeah, I know Bella Ramsey's like 19, but still, like the mindset behind it is a 14-year-old girl. Why are you? I don't know. It's stupid. It's like, oh, she's not pretty. I don't care as long as she can act.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
guess
she
what?
does a fantastic job.
There's a plot twist. Ashley Johnson doesn't look like Ellie either. Ashley Johnson, for those of you that don't know, is the original actress that plays Ellie in The Last of Us.
God.
Heartbreaking. Everyone's throwing a fit. So we have Bella Ramsey as Ellie. We have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Joel Miller himself. Pedro Pascal's been on a hell of a stretch recently. Known very widely as Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, in The Mandalorian. He seems to be enjoying taking these roles where he has a child and he's escorting them across either the galaxy or the United States. We have Sarah, who's played by Nico Parker, that is Joel's daughter. We have Tommy, played by Gabriel Luna, and that is Joel's brother. And we have Tess, played by Anna Torv, and that is Joel's partner. And there's some other characters we'll talk about as we get going. But so far of that cast, holy shit. I mean, holy shit. These are all characters, every actor. So there's some actors I left out because they're played by someone. They're played by the same person that played them in the game. So we'll talk about them later. Exactly. But the cast of new people that are playing these characters that have no experience, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that they did such a fantastic job. Who do you think's a standout?
I can't say Tommy because
You can say
he
Tommy.
wasn't. Well, yeah, but it's like it's not like I had much to go off of. You know, it was only for like a little bit of the first episode.
I would say Tommy. I mean, he sounds just like.
Hey, still alive, you old fucker.
Well, yeah, no, not to say he's not knocking it out of the park. Everyone is knocking it out of the park. I thought he sounded exactly like Tommy from the games. I thought it was the exact same actor. I'd say, honestly, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are like the top two.
Of course. Well, they have to be.
Well, I mean, yeah, God, I would hope so.
Yeah,
but
if not, your show's falling apart.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just. I guess it's easier to say that because we've spent the most time with those two, probably, I'd say.
Yeah.
But they're just knocking it out of the park. Like, it's just spot on.
I will say every scene with Tommy and Tess so far in the first 2 episodes,
I mean,
wait, what?
Joel and Tess?
No, Tommy and Tess. I'm not saying
Oh.
together. I'm saying
okay.
every
I was
scene that
like-
they're in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every scene that Tommy and Tess are in, absolutely, I think thinking to where I was in my first time playing the game, I think I like these characters more in the show than I did the first time playing the game, because the first time playing the game, I didn't care for these characters that much. Like, I knew that Joel was the main character. I knew that Ellie was a central point. Like, I didn't know about Tess. I didn't care about Tess. Tommy, okay, that's your brother. For all I knew, after the 20-year gap, he was dead, but, it's briefly revealed that he's not. So, I mean, to have those characters be so fleshed out in just the first 2 episodes with not that much screen time says a lot about the writers of the show. So we'll start off I want to talk about 1968. Good year. 1968 was a great year. How do you feel about 1968?
It's fantastic.
The Beatles were around, kicking. John Lennon wasn't dead,
Not yet.
Kill John Lennon.
Kill John Lennon. Kill John Lennon.
John Lennon is dead, butters.
John Lennon. Huh. So it's 1968, and there's Dr. Newman. He's talking on this talk show, played by John Hannah, who, if y'all didn't know, one of my favorite roles in The Mummy, the 1999 Brendan Fraser movie. Just absolutely great to see him here. And he's talking about cordyceps, which is this real life scientific plague almost, where fungus can essentially shoot out. In real life, what happens is they have spores, and these spores will fall on insects, and the fungus will start growing within the insect, taking over its brain, and it'll control the insect to get to a point of warmth and where it can grow, and it'll bite really hard into a tree or whatever, and it'll kill the insect and grow from there and release more spores. He's talking about how natural selection, with the earth getting warmer, it's forcing fungi to have to adapt. And with adapting, it means that instead of living inside of a species that needs temperature that exceeds no more than 94, as temperature increases, its range could increase. And humans, if you didn't know, we're going to use American terms here, Fahrenheit, because we don't get taught Celsius that much. So for Americans, for everyone, the natural body is between 97 and 99 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's talking about how just getting used, just surviving at a temperature just a little bit more than what it can survive at could mean that it could happen to us. And that's how that opening starts out. And it's not in the game. And I thought it was a very effective opening.
I think it was very good, effective opening to really put into perspective and explain what the infection is, because they don't do that in the game. You can like see it. It's like, obviously that's some kind of fungus or whatever, but they never explain it, And I feel like it was probably the best move for the mass audience who isn't really a fan or have never been exposed to The Last of Us prior to the show.
I completely agree. I think that's the best way to go about it, in my opinion, is to introduce this, kind of give the audience something to nibble on. And also, I think that I found out that a lot of people, after watching the first episode, have been going onto YouTube, and there's a video talking about cordyceps with Bear Grylls and this ant. People have been watching that. and there's real science behind it that people have been interested in. So I think that's a really cool little thing that people keep doing right after watching this first episode.
It probably is the most realistic and plausible way that a zombie outbreak could happen, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. Now we're gonna jump ahead. 2003, Nickelback's on the scene. Dr. Dre's everywhere. What movie was pop? Oh, Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo just came out. You know?
Wasn't Ice Age around
Yeah, so
that time?
Either 03, 04, 05 was one of those years. It was one of those years.
Well, it's not like it's going to matter in this universe, but.
Well, Shrek was. They had Shrek, you know.
Thank God they had Shrek.
They had Shrek. You could at least live the zombie apocalypse knowing you got a copy of Shrek.
There you go.
Now, there is something I want to note quite before we get too deep into 2003. I was talking about cordyceps, and we talked about spores. That's something that's in the game. In the game, there are these spores that it's a toxin, and us humans, we can't breathe these spores in without turning into this fungus. I want you to hold on to that. Just hold on to that for cordyceps. We'll come back to that. But it's 2003. And we have a house in Texas. I believe it was Austin, Texas. And there is a daughter played by Nico Parker named Sarah. And she is Joel's daughter. And she wakes up and it's Joel's birthday. September 26, 2003. There's a big difference. In the game, it takes place in 2013, which doesn't really matter, but it kind of does because of something that happens in the second game, but we don't know how the future of this is going to go, if they're going to even follow the second game, because they could straight up just say, no, you know, like honestly, anything could happen. So we're not even going to bring it up though, but it doesn't really matter that they moved it. The reason they moved it though, is because in the game, there's a 20-year gap between 2013 and when the majority of the game takes place. Here, there's a 20-year gap. Well, guess what? 20 years after 2003, it's 2023.
Quick math.
You're in modern time. So, given that it is 2003, there's a lot of references to 03 in here that people might not realize, not even myself, not until after and rewatching. So pretty much how this opening is, it's different from the game because on the game, it will eventually get to the point of the game, but there's a lot more to chew on with Sarah. You get a lot more backstory behind Sarah and Joel.
A lot more fleshing out of her character.
Yeah, and I think it really does I think it does a better service than for the game. And I think Sarah's fate is a lot more tragic in the show than it is in the game as well.
Because in the game, when you see her, it's like a cutscene. And then it's just like when you play her, like everything's already hitting the fan. Yeah. Whereas in the show, you get time before that, like a day or two. You really just spend a lot of time with her and Joel and their relationship.
You get to see her interact with Joel. You get to see Tommy come inside the house. They're eating breakfast, but not eating pancakes. There's no pancake mix.
Where's the pancake mix?
Oh, was that? Yeah, it was. Sorry.
I was gonna make you birthday pancakes. I swear.
You know, I don't really like pancakes.
There's no pancake mix, so they can't have pancakes, but whatever. They're eating breakfast. Yeah, it's his birthday. They wanted pancakes. Come on, guys.
God damn it.
Joel's got to go to work. He's got a project he's got to go take on. Sarah's got to go to school, so they walk out to the truck. They meet their neighbors. None of this is in the game. Just I think I made that clear. None of this is in the game. The neighbors are an elderly group that's taking care of their extremely elderly mother, and they're feeding her biscuits. They offer to give biscuits to Joel, and Joel says, "I'm on Atkins." That's a very big sign in 2003 that that's a big diet that he did back then. And that's also a key point. They didn't take the biscuits, something to hold on to, the biscuits. They get in the car. Sarah goes to school. She notices people are acting kind of strange. After school, she takes her watch into town, gets it fixed, and gets rushed out of the store. There's a lot of weird shit going on. She goes over to the old couple's house, goes inside. They made cookies that have raisins in them. Sarah doesn't like raisins, so she didn't get the cookies. But she does pick out a movie. While she's picking out a movie, you see Grandma doing some weird shit.
I was like, I remember seeing that. I was like, huh?
I was so for it. It's such a good shot, too. That's how you know you got great fucking director right there. Is that shot where it's focused on Sarah and it's blurred out of focus in the background, but you can see like the weird fucking movement is so superb. So out of this, Sarah goes home and she waits for Joel to get off. Joel gets off. He forgot to pick up a birthday cake. Interesting. They pop in the movie and Joel gets a phone call. Tommy's in prison. So what does Joel do? He picks up Sarah, brings her to bed, and goes to bail out his brother. And this is where the game picks up. Like, this is where you start the game off. Like, that scene where Joel's watching the movie with Sarah, she falls asleep, and then Joel taking her to bed, that's all in the game. And then Sarah wakes up, you're playing as Sarah. A little bit different here and there. And the game, for those of you that have not played it, Sarah's walking around. She's asking where her dad is. There's helicopters. There's an explosion out her window. So she's getting worried. And then her dad comes through the sliding glass door and kills their neighbor.
Jimmy, stay back! Jimmy, I am warning you! Go!
Well, guess what happens here? She goes next door after their neighbor's dog comes up to the house and finds that there's blood everywhere. And her neighbor is getting eaten by the elderly woman. Except when the elderly woman comes up, there's a little something coming out her mouth. Yeah.
Yes.
Tendrils. That's what they're called. Tendrils is a deviation from the game. Instead of having spores that contaminates the mind, these tendrils are what infects people. It's one of the changes from the game to the show, and it's a rather big change. And there's another big change from episode 2 when we get there that we'll talk about. How did you feel about this change?
I honestly, like, I know some people like weren't too big a fan of it, but it didn't seem like anybody was ticked off about it. I understand why they did that, because if gotta put on a mask, like, I guess they just kind of wanted to keep showing the face and not hide the face of Pedro Pascal and all the other actors. You know what I mean? Like, you got them. I don't know. That's just kind of what people are saying. But honestly, I didn't mind.
Yeah,
Like, it would be nice if it was like still spores, because like more accurate to the game you are, the better. But it didn't really bother me.
No, I think it'll work out. I think it'll work out well. I mean, what's going to happen is people are going to compare this to zombies. I mean, I don't blame you. It is, in a way, The Walking Dead. There are dead people. They are reanimated, brought back to life, and they're controlled by fungus. Like, it's zombies. We get it. One thing I'm just a tiny bit upset about is that Spores made it unique. Spores made it where it's not just zombies. It doesn't just take a bite or a scratch or anything like that. Like, the atmosphere can literally turn you into this. So it was a little bit sad to see that go away. However, I think the general audience, whenever you have a group of people that haven't played the game come and watch the show, it makes it easier for them to digest.
I mean, yeah, I think I understand why they did it. Doesn't really bother me. Would I prefer spores? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's just whatever.
I mean, the show's so spot on that it doesn't really bother me.
It's very easy to forgive.
Yeah, especially because there's something that is paid off in the second episode that I think is what's going to make this work really fucking well. But Sarah is now being hunted by her neighbor, her elderly neighbor, runs out the door. The neighbor comes outside, and luckily Joel's there. And Joel grabs her, and the neighbor comes out. And just like in the game where he had to kill his neighbor, had to kill his neighbor here. Takes a wrench and beats the hell out of her. Sarah looks in terror, looks at her father and says, "You killed her." They get in the truck, and then I just was blown away by the truck scene, blown away by the camera angles, by the action scenes that were going on, the burning barn. It was very reminiscent of the game.
Yeah. It's like I said, it was like shot for shot identical to the game. Like you have like the camera right behind Sarah, she's in the back seat, and it like follows which way she turns. You can see, the barn. It all looks like exactly the same. And
It's incredible.
Like many of the lines are ripped straight out of the game. Like in some scenes in these two episodes, like I was able to quote exactly what they were gonna say before they said it. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
the
I
family.
knew what they said. Yeah, like
they have a child. So do we. Keep moving, Tommy. That.
Yeah.
Straight from the game. I mean, they drive into the town. Their truck flips. Different than how it does in the game. It flips because of a airplane in the show, and Sarah gets injured. What's up?
I noticed that. It's like they knew what they were doing because in the game, like you're driving or whatever, you hear "watch out," and you see this truck come by and it T-bones them and they flip over. Next thing you know, on the show, it's like, "Hey, watch out!" You see the truck come, but it stops just in time. So it's almost like gotcha, you thought. Then a plane comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Plane comes out of nowhere.
Very self-aware. It was almost like a very aware little like, gotcha, we're messing with you. But, everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket. But, I don't know. It's a little observation on my part.
Good observation.
Thank you. I try.
That's good, So the truck's wrecked. Joel goes and he grabs Sarah, and Sarah is hurt her leg really bad. She can't walk on it, and it's go time. Like shit is hitting the fan. There are people acting insane everywhere. Tommy unfortunately got split up from the two of them due to the wrecked truck and the fire, and ambulance crashes, I believe, into the truck, or some sort of vehicle does. So they go their separate ways. Well, Sarah and Joel come across some runners. So Sarah and Joel, they take off. They're getting chased. And luckily, they come through a diner. They burst out the door. And someone's there to save the day. Someone kills that runner. That someone is a United States military member. Probably the Army. I don't know. Anyways, that member kills the walker and points his gun at Joel, and he goes, "We're not sick."
Okay. Easy now. We're not sick.
I mean, this part was pretty much just like the game, the exact way it went down.
Okay. We're not sick.
He gets orders to fire upon them and opens fire. Joel turns, gets hit, and drops Sarah, and they go rolling. The soldier comes up, aims the gun at Joel. He puts his hand up and says, "Please don't." And then you hear a gunshot, and it's Tommy there to save the day. Well, kind of. Because over on the other side, Sarah ate a lot of bullets. It's a sad scene. And you get to see Joel really emote. You get to see a lot of emotion come from Joel.
Which you don't see a lot of later on.
No, you don't. This is a scene that if you're a parent, you can relate to. Like that, like the idea of losing your child could be scary and heartbreaking, and seeing someone go through something like that can really tug at the heartstrings. And then we jump 20 years later to Boston. We're in Boston. Gotta love Boston.
Go down to the harbor.
The
Watch a Red
harbor.
Sox game.
Oh, there
Grab
is
a
no Red
beer.
Sox. But they might have some beer. The harbor.
Red Sox not Boston?
No, they're Boston. They're dead, you know? Zombie apocalypse.
Oh, well, yeah, no shit.
I'm just saying. You could still go to the harbor, but you can't.
I mean, you could still go to the harbor.
Go grab me my khakis. I need to go to the harbor. We're dumping some
Bostonians.
tea in the harbor. Bostonians are listening to this like, fuck you guys. Fuck you.
Why'd you go
dare
southern
you.
with it?
Oh, did I go southern with it? I forgot. I gotta stick with the fucking.
The fucking goddamn fucking accent. I don't know.
Mark Wahlberg and John Krasinski and Chris Evans are gonna team up and gonna beat the fuck out of me now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can I get this? Oh fuck! God damn it! Oh, Mark Wahlberg, you shouldn't have been Sully, you fucker.
20-year time jump. Go.
20-year time jump. Boston. We have a little kid. Never seen this little kid before. He's not in the game. And he stumbles upon the Boston QZ. The Boston QZ is this amazing paradise of a place. Absolutely lovely. People there are just genuine great people. They wouldn't kill a kid or anything like
They're all
that.
super happy.
Super happy to be alive. Nothing wrong could go here. Definitely no terrorists. And so this kid gets taken in. And, this is a scene that I thought gave more humanity to Fedra than any of the games did. Because the lady that is talking to this kid isn't like, time to put him down. She's like, we'll make sure you get your toys that you want. We'll make sure you get all, giving him comfort. And then is shown the red and he gets put down. It's a fucking bleak way to introduce this era, this 20-year time jump, but I think that it did show that Fedra maybe isn't the monsters that people say they are, but Fedra has to take the outbreak. I mean, you let someone come in and if one person's red, you literally are like everyone will die. Like it'll spread like nothing. So they take it serious, and then you see that in just a scene or two later with the hangings that are happening. What you see in the game, but it's actually they're shooting people, but they're hanging people for either unauthorized entry or unauthorized exit, because if you don't punish those type of people and they go out and they get bit, you are literally going to risk an entire quarantine zone. Joel meets his little buddy. His little Boston QZ guard.
Oh, right. Yeah, so Joel's, everybody's scared of Joel. I noticed that. Everybody's scared of Joel. But he's just trying to do what he can to survive. Trying to make his way through life in the Boston QZ. Like the people in the QZ will take jobs and they'll get ration cards. And it's like, oh, if you do the jobs that nobody wants to do, like sewage repair, you get more ration cards and stuff like that. But I guess that's not enough for Joel. So on the side, he's doing, I guess, illegal things with his partner, this lady Tess, who you could definitely tell in the game, and maybe I'll have to rewatch the episode, but you could tell that was a romantic history in the past. So they go and they're trying to like get a car battery. That's what it is. They're trying to get a car battery. He's bribing like this one connection he has, this man on the inside of Fedra that he's got. And eventually they find out that the car battery that they're looking for is, what was it? I believe Robert, this guy that they were buying it from, sold it to somebody else. And that causes a whole lot of problems. And that's where really kickstarts the story to where we meet Ellie, who's been imprisoned, essentially chained up by the Fireflies, this terrorist organization that think the military or Fedra's like tyrannical. Yeah, they chained Ellie up because, you know, I don't even want to say that because that could be a spoiler.
I mean, we're talking about the
Um,
first 2 episodes, so they chained her. They chained her up because she's bit.
Okay, we're doing that. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's bit and has been for about like 3 weeks. And, one thing leads to another. I'm just trying not to get like every detail of this episode, but the Fireflies get jumped. Or no, they try and go get the battery or something. And, the deal went south. Robert and his men and the Fireflies, they all killed each other. The only people that survive are Marlene, played by the same actress as in the game. Marlene's the head of the Fireflies, by the way. The only survivors are her and I guess like her assistant. And basically, they make a deal with Joel and Tess. Say, hey, smuggle this girl, Ellie, out of the city into the Capitol building, like outside the QZ. It's far away, but if you do that, we'll give you the car battery. Actually, we'll give you like a brand new, ready to go car. Everything's tip top shape and like a gun or two. So they're like, all right. You want to take it from here?
Yeah, this is this one they take the deal, they take the bribe, and they go underway. They go on this quest to get Ellie to Boston's Capitol building. Boston. So they go back to Joel's place. They're waiting to go out into the real world. And this is where we get to see our first real development between Ellie and Joel. Joel's laying on the couch, just like in the game, and Ellie's asking him questions. She points out his watch is broken, the watch that Sarah gave him. She opens up a book, and she notices that there's a code in there, Bill and Frank, and there's a radio. And so she immediately inquires that 60 songs means there's stuff, 70s means there's nothing, but 80s she can't figure out. Joel goes to sleep. He wakes up, and we get to see this little fun banter where she's like, oh, yeah, a song came on the radio. And Joel panics and goes, what song? And she goes, something about wake me up before you go. And Joel goes, fuck. And she goes, 80s means trouble. Code broken.
Gotcha. 80s means trouble. Code broken.
And I thought that was very, very reminiscent of the game. Very, very
Ellie.
much. Yeah, extremely Ellie.
Very Ellie. Well, I mean, it also helps that one of the co-creators and co-writers of the show is creator and writer of the game, Neil Druckmann.
And on the other writer, and I'm gonna flash his name right here. I forgot it. He did Chernobyl.
Mazin?
Yeah, I think
something Mazin.
He did Chernobyl, which is another really good HBO show. And the second episode, you can kind of see those Chernobyl vibes. But they wake up, it's time to embark. They go out into the real world, and there's spotlights, there's destruction everywhere, and they get spotted by a Fedra military member. But it's none other than the military member that Joel was dealing drugs with earlier to get some extra rations. He draws his weapon on Joel, and Joel has PTSD flashback scenes to when his daughter Sarah dies, and goes apeshit ballistic and beats the fuck out of him. And it's revealed here that Ellie's bitten. This is when the audience finds out she's bitten. And Joel, this scene was a little weird to me upon initially watching it, because there's a lot more to it in the game than there is in the show. And the show, it's like very like, yo, we got to end this episode. So it's like, she's bit. I've been bit for 3 weeks. I'm fine. All right, let's keep moving. Whereas in the game, it's like, if you fucking move, I'm going to fucking kill you, Ellie. I'm going to fucking Joel's ready to fucking kill her. and we'll get to that in the second episode, but in the first episode, like ending the episode off, it just felt weird that because in the game there was a lot of fear behind her having that bite, whereas in the episode it's like all right, we'll deal with it later, and they move on.
Well, I mean, I guess I can kind of understand the like how they're trying to just wrap it up because I mean, yeah, one, they're trying to end the episode. It's like an hour and a half long premiere, but two, like they see like Fedras come in, they're like looking for him. They know something's going wrong, so they're like, got to get out of here. We'll take care of it now. Because I mean, if they stay there any longer, they get taken in, probably killed. I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it makes sense. So, first episode, loved it. Thought it was great. I mean, hell of a way to start off your new series. I think with The Walking Dead ending in November and The Last of Us starting now, here in January, I think that this is going to be. I think the zombie apocalypse genre is still very much alive and not dead. And the second episode picks up, I mean, almost right where the first episode left off, and I think it was pretty great how the second episode started. So, funny thing is, I texted Matthew after the first episode, sent him this little thing I saw online. I was like, "Hey, look, this has something about flour and the virus being involved with flour," and I was like, "It's got some pretty good points," and right off the bat, the second episode, they don't pull any punches. It's about flour. There's the outbreak starts at a flour factory, 2003, 2 days before it happens in the first episode, in September 24th, in Indonesia. And an Indonesian doctor is brought in. She's doing an autopsy on a patient that's been killed and finds that cordyceps is in her body. And this is one of the most haunting scenes. This is very Chernobyl. This is the part where I felt it was very Chernobyl. They're like, "We need you to make a cure. We need you to make a vaccine." She's like, "There is no vaccine. Bomb it. Bomb it all. Bomb the damn city. Kill them." Well, what do you want to do? "I want to be with my family. I want to see my family. Let me spend time with my family before I die." I think we're going to see her again.
you think so? I think they're gonna do. I don't know how long they're gonna do it. They may do it the entire season, or if they're gonna just do it like not the entire season, the flashbacks. I mean, that like give more context to the thing. I feel like they'd probably stop like after episode 3. I think episode 3 would probably be the last one they do. But part of me also thinks they're going to do it the entire season. But the thing is, I don't think they should do it the entire season. Because if you're constantly explaining and over explaining, then it's going to be a lot more strict with what you can write. So it'll be easier to put holes in it. Like, I don't need to understand how every single thing works about the infection. You already gave me the premise, and like you already explained like a decent amount. That's all I really need. I don't need to know the exact biology and the science behind it, because otherwise you could be like, well, no, this wouldn't work because of this, and this wouldn't work, and it'd just be too easy to put in plot holes or poke holes in it.
So I think that we are going to get, every episode's going to have a past sequence, and without spoiling anything, I'm going to explain this to you in just a second, but without spoiling anything, I think that each sequence at the beginning of every episode is going to feed into the episode. Yeah. So I think it is going to be that case where it picks up and tells you something that's happened in the past. And I don't know. I'm not going to say anything because a lot of people haven't played the game that are watching the show. But I will say that I think that whatever happens in the beginning of the episode is going to be there to feed what happens in the middle of the episode. But this doesn't do it here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just more outbreak stuff so far. Might see her in the future, though. She's not from the game, by the way. So it's not like I have some knowledge that I'm almighty. I know what's happening. This episode is very much just character building and world building. This episode, plot wise, doesn't need to do anything extra. It's the opening makes up for the ending of the last episode. The opening of this, the Joel and Ellie opening of this, is Tess and Joel sitting there, not trusting that Ellie is alive, and like that Ellie's not going to turn. And this is where, in the game, this is all what happens in the last episode. It's outside of the QZ, but it's happening inside of this building, and this is also where one of the funny scenes, where if you see the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, wait. If you're watching this episode, you know what I'm talking about. It's full of spoilers. When Ellie fucking starts doing the like joking around that she's a clicker.
Don't.
That's very much how Ellie is in the game as well. So, they're just continuing on their task of getting to the Capitol building. And just like how in the game there's roadblocks everywhere, they can't just go straight there. They have to figure out ways around to get there. So in the game, there's this awesome sequence with those two towers that are collapsed upon each other, where you go through and there's scaffolding and stuff like that. But they cut it out for good reason, probably. Like, they're trying to make clickers effective. They're trying to make what they do very powerful. So they just have them go, and they show a scene that takes place later in the game where they go inside of a hotel. We get to see lines once again taken directly from the game where Joel's like, "You're a weird kid."
Right away, ma'am.
You're a weird kid.
You're a weird kid.
And they go through, and there's just a lot of callbacks to the game. The world outside is fucking insane, though. I mean, it is weird. I will say this. You can tell, like, stuff on the bridge and stuff like that is real props, real, like, material, like, practical effects. But the background is CGI, and you can tell it, but it's not bad CGI. It's weird to me. You know what I mean?
They just use a mix of CGI and practical effects and everything. I know what you mean.
But I don't think it's not that it's blended badly. Like, I can tell with my eye what is CGI and what's real. Whereas, like, and obviously we're comparing something that is a lot more money to make than this, but like Avatar 2, like, I couldn't tell, like, it all looked so realistic. And I'm not trying to discredit The Last of Us, but it's just because the CGI is really good. It just, I don't know, the blend, for some reason, to me, I could tell the difference.
Well, then again, Avatar 2 was in the making for like 13 years.
Yeah, and it cost like $1 billion because it was made back to back with the third one that hasn't come out yet. So this is also where we dive into, they start talking about the lore of the game. Ellie's talking with Tess on the bridge as they're walking through, and she's saying, like, I heard there's clickers that shoot, like, toxins at you, and that's like another type of creature you see later in the game. She's bringing up other things about the real world. She's like, I heard they bombed the place. You go and there's a giant crater, and Tessa's like, yeah, they try to contain it by bombing everyone, all harkening back to what was said at the beginning of the episode. And they go inside the Bostonian History Museum, where there's a big Civil War exhibit.
Because they have to go through there, because, like you said earlier, they can't just go straight there. It's constant. It makes it feel like the game a lot, because in the game, it's like, oh, we got to go through there. Oh, but this is blocked off. We got to go around. We got to follow this. It's the same thing. And I guess it just adds to the overall feel of like it does in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But, they can't go straight to the Capitol building because there's like 70 something runners, and they're all just kind of laying down. It looks like they're just kind of just chilling.
Yeah.
But they're just like waiting for the fungus to tell them what to do. So they have to go around to get to the Capitol building. They got to go through the Bostonian Museum, which is a place they do, and I swear to God, part of me wants to think that they just built this museum from the ground up and just made it look, every little thing look just like the game. Because I swear, there's some rooms where it's like, I remember sneaking around
Yeah.
those rooms.
Like
So-
the glass fucking with the guns inside of it, and they're like straight from the game.
Yeah. The thing is, the fungus is spread like all throughout the ground and everything. So they go on to explain that, like, if you were to touch it, like just get a little smack, the fungus would know, and next thing you know, like the fungus would know where you're at. And let's say there's a group of like those 70 something runners, they'll know where you are. It's like a hive mind almost. So it switches out the spores for the hive mind. So it's like one OP thing for the other. So I guess it still kind of keeps it unique, just not in the way that we're familiar with, which I'm okay with, and I think it just makes up for everything.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. I think that works very well.
It does. Obviously it's got to be in patches, because if it's through the entire planet, then my suspension of disbelief will be kind of broken, because it's like, well, every step you take, they should know where you're at.
Yeah.
Like I'm assuming there's like patches, whatnot. Like it'll stick out of the ground. You'll be able to see it.
I think of it like Stranger Things. How Stranger Things has the vine, like most specifically season 2 of Stranger Things, where like if there's a vine and you burn it or whatever, the mind flayer knows where you are and it sends like all the demodogs to you. That's kind of what I thought of.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like, almost. Yeah, Joel, and they explain that because they see like a patch of the fungus or whatever, like this little vine. But Joel like goes to show him, like, look, it's dried out, it's dead. So since it's dead, I imagine there's no walkers in there, or like no infected in there. They go in, and yeah, like any infected that were in there are dead. They go on to say, Ellie asks, like, how long do these things usually live? And Joel proceeds to tell him, well, some of them live for maybe 2 weeks, 2 months, but then there's also others that live for past 20 years, like that are still around since the outbreak. So it all just depends. And then they find this body, and it is not as torn up as it probably would be in the game. Just kind of looks like a housewife, like one of those reality housewives just went crazy with the nail extensions and just clawed the shit out of his face. But it's not like he's torn up like he probably should be. And it just perfectly sets up the clickers, because I hated the clickers in the game, because they'd always like freak me out. I'd be stealthing my way through, and next thing you know, like right there, they come out of nowhere, and I'm like, ah, and they bite my neck, and I'm just screaming, my meat, ah!
Blood all over the fucking place.
And then I hear Ellie, just, Joel, no, and it's a whole thing. I'm like, I'm sorry. Anyway, they go over and they see the body. Like, what the hell did that? And they test, and all of them are like, shh, I don't hear anything. And they go and they really set up the clickers, like I said, and it adds a lot more, I guess it adds to their presence, like when they do show up, because they are dangerous. And so they go, Joel says, we are now, until I say otherwise, we're silent. Not quiet, silent. And then they eventually run into some clickers. And it's mad spooky.
Mad spooky. And it's awesome how it sets it up, because they're going up the staircase. And you can, if you listen very closely, you can hear the clicker noises.
Mm-hmm.
They get into the room, and you hear it.
Yeah. And things go bananas, obviously.
Quite
But,
literally. They have bananas. It's like Mario Kart. If you throw a banana out there,
just
clicker
throw a
can't get
banana
you.
peel.
It
It's real,
slips.
it's real Scooby-Doo like shenanigans.
Yeah. The show is straight. It's actually just we're watching Scooby Doo.
Yeah, it's to make up for that show Velma, which I hear everybody hates.
I haven't seen it. If you like it, leave a comment that you like it. You know, if you hate it, leave a like if you hate it.
Yeah, but eventually they get out and they eventually make it to the Capitol building.
Yes, and
They'll
it's
take over.
revealed. It's revealed at the Capitol building that something happened in the Bostonian History Museum. It's a weird way to say history, but I said it. You're gonna live
Deal
with
with
that.
it.
I'm
Deal
not
with
cutting that out. You're gonna remember history.
Chump.
Anyways, something went down there that we, the audience, didn't see, but those of us who play the game knew, and that's that old Tess got bit. She got bit real good.
Oh, yeah, the Fireflies that they were supposed to meet at the Capitol building are dead, by the way.
They're dead. Yeah, they're dead.
Fedra came by and got them.
Which in the game, Fedra is hunting you down at the Capitol building. But you get there, it's revealed that she is bitten. It's also revealed that the people that have died are about to turn. So Joel and Ellie need to book it out of there. Tess makes it very apparent to Joel that this isn't her home and that his only goal should be to get Ellie, to get Ellie to safety. Get Ellie to safety, get Ellie to make a vaccine or a cure or whatever, because it's very real to her. She got bit. Look at how bad it is already. And Ellie's been bit for fucking weeks and nothing's happened to her. That's Tess's dying wish. Tess throws grenades everywhere, puts a ton of gasoline down, and a walker, I just made a Walking Dead term. Runner, a dead person gets up and they kill it, and its connection, that what we were talking about earlier, alerts all the other in the area that it's go time. It's time to go kill some people. They stormed the Capitol, but not like January 6th. They stormed the Capitol. They're not taking Nancy Pelosi's mail or anything like that. They're going to go make out with Tess. And Tess is struggling with a lighter. Because, we can't do a simple, throw, it's got to be dramatic. So we're going to have Tess.
Real shitty lighter. God damn it.
And this is a gross fucking scene, this is a what the fuck moment when you see tendrils going inside of Tess's mouth.
Mad Grody.
It's pretty gross. She lights up that bad boy and burns the Capitol down. And then this is something that you don't really get to see in the game. Tess dies, and Ellie's like, "Holy shit, Tess died!" And then you move on. You're going on to your next mission. Whereas in the show, it takes a second. They're outside of the Capitol building, and you can see the heartbreak in Ellie's eyes, and you can see that Joel has shut himself off so much emotionally that he's just ready to move on to the next thing. And that's how you close out the episode. Great first two episodes.
Great episode. I feel like it was probably done better in the game, I will say, because Tess explains it a lot more. In the show, she's just like, hey, just get her. Get her here. Get her here. Like, do this for me. But in the game, she goes on to say, like, we're shitty people and all that. And in the show, too, she's all about just getting the car battery. Let's just get her to the Capitol so we can get the car battery. We can go out and do what we need to do. But the vibe changes after the museum, both in the game and in the show, where it's like her whole demeanor just changes. And she goes on to essentially say that, look, I'll try and buy y'all some time, and I want you to do this for me because, again, we're shitty people, but we can be better. And what else? What else was saying? Like in the game, she goes on to say, like, if there's still something here, make me a promise that you'll do this. And Joel's like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Let's just go home. I didn't even want to do this in the first place. And she reveals that she was bitten. But to her, you can tell Tess is like, now that she's bitten and her own end is near, she realizes that this is about more than her and the car battery. Like, this means something. Ellie means something because she's immune. So she doesn't want her death to mean nothing. And if she can get Joel to push on and possibly save the world, then maybe at the end of the day, her and Joel maybe aren't such bad people. And it's it's a request for redemption.
I actually thought different. I think that the game, Tess is cool in the game and all. I thought this version of Tess, I thought it was fleshed out a lot better. I think I had more connection with this version of Tess. And upon rewatching the second episode, I think starting at the very beginning of the episode where they're inside the that collapsed building and Ellie's sleeping and stuff like that you're seeing Tess, if you rewatch it, she's very caring towards Ellie, and you might not realize it, but she's opening up to Ellie. Like, she wanted nothing to do with Ellie. She wasn't talking to her or anything in the first episode, but immediately in the second episode, after she finds out she's bitten and that she's alive, she throws her a magazine whenever she goes to use the bathroom. She's talking with Ellie. She's the one conversing with her, talking about what happened in the city. She's the one telling Ellie what it's like out there. It's not Joel. Joel's being quiet, very stern. She's the one that's opening up to Ellie. But you get your scenes with Joel. But you can see that she's actually becoming very caring. She's starting to really understand. Joel's ready to kill her and just go back at the very beginning of the episode. It's Tess that's like, let's see this through. So Tess, I actually think, is the pushing factor for this from the very beginning of the episode.
Well, regardless, another fantastic episode.
It is another fantastic episode. There's another one coming out this Sunday, and we will be doing this series on Dude Horrifying, where we're going to talk about these episodes every 2 weeks until the series is over. This is a series that means a lot to a lot of us horror fans that played the game, and we're just looking so forward to what else is going to be in store.
Very much so. And I'm happy to be along for this ride, because if they keep it at the same quality and as faithful to the IP as they have been, it's going to be a great show.
It's also worth noting that the HBO second episode is the biggest jump between a series first episode and second episode in HBO history. Game sales have gone up by, I think, 322%.
Yeah, 327%, I think.
So there's a lot of love going for the Last of Us series, and that's just absolutely great to see.
By all means, go out and buy the game.
Buy the game. Before you buy the game, though, make sure you're liking this video. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're commenting. If you like this in any capacity, comment that you like it. Just say, I like it. Just like that.
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. Or say in a Bostonian accent, fuck you, how dare you talk about Boston. Do it. But leave a like and subscribe. And buy the game and enjoy this. It's awesome. There'll be more content to come, and y'all will be fucking just loving it,
Let's go.
But it's time to say our goodbyes. Thank you so much, Matthew, for coming on.
Of course.
It's been real. And we'll be back. Until next time, though, stay horrifying, my dude.